and rather than that is totally all that we have. Yeah.
Michael and Dennis, feel free to jump in anytime you want to.
Well, I could see how a lot of religious organizations would take some of the things in the manifesto, probably about 80% of them, and incorporate it into their religions. Naturally, everybody wants to treat other people fairly and have a good outlook on the world, and not be a criminal and that type of thing. Most religions would go by that, but most religions seem to cue everything into God being the one thing that holds it all together, and that without the belief in God, that there would be anarchy. And so it just seems like the two are incompatible.
When you say anarchy, what they really, many of them say, is that if you don't have God, then you have no morals.
That's right.
It's just immorality.
And they use a threat of everlasting punishment in hell to keep you toeing the line.
Rules.
Right.
I'm planning a future program on morality without religion, so we will pursue that topic at a later time. Let me read another thing from this original manifesto. They say, and this is item number 6, we're convinced that the time has passed for theism, deism, modernism, and the several varieties of new thought. What does that mean? I don't know what new thought is, but if they have written off theism and deism, what's left? Put you on the spot again, didn't we?
Life is a process, and this is a process that continues for us too. We quickly forget things that happened less than 20 years ago. Michael has a memory of things that were 100 years ago and knows them well. But I don't have that expertise, but I do know that there is a process and an unfolding of religious faith, and that the tradition in which I was raised is not the same today as it was in the 1950s. Why? Because the world has changed. And religious humanism, I believe, is saying here that as we see things begin to fade in their pull on people, that their statement is a more accurate representation of what religion should be.
One item in the original statement, and this is item number 14, with which I personally will have to disagree. It says, a socialized and cooperative economic order must be established to the end that the equitable distribution of the means of life be possible, which says socialism or communism. Now, when they redid this 40 years later, they dropped that.
Yes.
How do any of you feel about the fact that to be humanists, we need to equalize the benefits of the world among peoples?
Well, now you've gotten into economics and politics, so I can say something. I'm surprised they took it out. If you're looking for equity, you need a system that supports equity, and frankly, the capitalist system supports inequity. It's all about acquiring more capital than the other person. I'm not necessarily saying it necessarily results in evil or something, but I will say that it is designed to result in inequity. Some would say, well, yes, if you work harder, you should get more. But if you're going to provide for basic human needs, our country has for years wrestled with that. The idea that we want our country to provide for basic human needs. After the hurricane Everyone wanted the country to come together and help those of us down here in southeast Louisiana. But that's basically a socialist idea. But we think that's okay because we don't call that socialism. So what they had in there, talking about equity, you need some kind of distribution system that has more to do with need than ability.
Are you saying within a country or within the world? In other words, we have a very rich country that we're living in. Would you say that we have some moral obligation to share this with the less fortunate peoples of the world?
I would say so. Yes, I would say so. But I don't necessarily, I certainly know that would not. Yet I was just reading in the New York Times that something like 80% of Americans think we should help people who are suffering from a famine, and they think we should help people who are their homes are destroyed by a tsunami in other countries. These same people think that but they're against foreign aid. And they also think that about 25% of our government expenditures go for foreign aid. Well, it's like less than 0.5%, even with the amount that we do help other people. I think, if you're going to be capitalist, you have to be capitalist like some of the old capitalists were, who believed that because they had been given this great wealth, it was it was part of what they had to do with their life to help those less fortunate. We don't have that anymore. We have, bottom line, I get to keep whatever I can grab, and nobody else gets any.
Dennis, you got some thoughts on that?
Yes. Socialism and communism, on paper, the idea sounds great, but in reality, it doesn't work.
I think
everybody's
shown to fail.
It's shown to fail. And I think democracy and capitalism works from one simple idea: taxation. You tax the people that make the most, and you redistribute it to the people that can't make it on their own. And a lot of people don't like to hear that, but you have to have a system to help the people that at the bottom.
So you would agree with the changes between the first and second of these documents, that where they just dropped the concept that we needed to have an economic system,
right,
that included sharing the wealth. What are your thoughts about sharing the wealth?
Well, the interesting thing is that the 6th and the 14th were the two sections that were debated most deeply in the discussion before this document was produced. And those were the two to which you point out. I think number 15 kind of, which is the last, says something about this without explaining exactly how this will happen. We assert that humanism will affirm life rather than deny it, seek to elicit the possibilities of life, not flee from it, endeavor to establish the conditions of a satisfactory life for all, not merely for the few. This leaves it, and there's an additional sentence, but this leaves it open to how that would be developed. And this intention, it gets closer to me to thinking of government being for the common good, which is something that we have also lost recently.